All right. Oh, let's just start this goddamn thing and fucking get it going. All right. Oh, God, it's going to be a good night tonight. Hello, YouTubers, as we hang out and say hello to everyone in this fantastic, beautiful place that we call planet Earth. If you don't know me, that's okay. I'm a nobody, but sometimes I speak on a microphone, and I know you can't see me because I'm wearing camouflage tonight. So I'm Dave. I'm the guy who hosts this show, and yeah, that's about it. That's all I got, man. All right, Butch Witkowski's here. We got to try and break a record tonight. Got to try and break a record. I think we hit 182 or 186 people last time we had Butch on the air. That was a record. So we got to try and snap that record tonight. You know, what the hell? Let's just do it and go for it. All right. Hey, Jack Clark, Ross, Philip, good to see you here. Bee's Nest, always a pleasure. Tina, you're looking stunning tonight. Good to have you here. I know the Becky Belling is here. She is looking stunning and gorgeous, according to Big Bad Worsley over there. Yes, I know. I know, Worsley. I know. Brett Lewis is here. That means we can officially start the show. Go 66. Bizzle, good to see you here. Jurassic Joey, not looking a day over your age right now. Good for you. Good for you, man. Tina Prod looking stunning as ever here. Teresa, you look gorgeous. You look just stunning tonight. All right, Farmer Robert's here. Just in from picking up the crops tonight, but he made it. Good to have you here, Robert. Waylon, all the way in Bama, getting ready for some football. I look forward to it, man. Look forward to it. Dick Daigle's here, everyone. Don't call him a bust, even though he went first overall in the 1993 NHL draft. Little Deborah, good to see you here. Thanks for coming on in. Nate Rudd, Nate Foot. I'm going to call you Nate Foot from now on because that just works for me. The Jim Christie is here, everyone. Yes, we can start the show. Kristen Alberg, look at her. Look at her strutting her stuff down the aisle tonight. Looking absolutely gorgeous. Hector, how you doing, my friend? Thank you. Welcome back. All right, who else do we got here? Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, how are you, brother? Good to see you here. I hope the scoreboard is doing great for you. Steph Dickey, always a pleasure to have you strutting your stuff around here. You're looking beautiful tonight. Joshua Taylor, you are also looking beautiful. I should say that. Nuck Levy, I hope we can pull it out against Vegas, man. I really do. I don't think we can. That's a good hockey team over there, man. Davin in Vietnam, good to have you here. Casual conversation with G and A. Who is here, G or A? Or are they both here? I don't know. Now I'm curious. Larry, good to have you here. Jarhead, Lufon, Lord of Land, always a pleasure to have you guys here. Barther L and the Third Nipple Crew, everyone. Barther L and the Third Nipple Crew. Yes, this is a man who believes that Pop-Tarts are high-quality substance food. Yes. Waylon? Oh, yeah, I said you, Waylon. No offense. Roscoe, good to see you here. Betty Spaghetti, you're looking beautiful tonight. Dark Rider, how you doing, man? Good to have you here. SJ, good to have you back. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Jim Nicholas, everyone. Jim Nicholas is here. Isn't that awesome when Jim Nicholas arrives? I'm always happy when he's here. Yes. Oh, it's just G for now in the casual conversation with G and A. What does G stand for? I can barely see your picture, but if I look at that, it stands for gorgeous. New York Anthony's here, everyone. New York Anthony. Hey, Butch, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
Did you have extra salt with your meal tonight? Feeling a little
yes.
Feeling a little salty tonight, you cranky bastard?
A little bit.
Good. The saltier the better. You're like a saltine cracker. All right, who else we got? Stan the Man, welcome to our chat room for the first time. Thank you for coming on in. Jason McDaniel, good to see you here. Rono, good to have you here. Rono, Jules, how's your hair? Give us an update. You look beautiful tonight. Thank you for coming on in. Bill WD40 is here in the Spreaker chat. Bill WD40, which means we are officially lubed up for tonight. We could slide right into the show, smooth as silk. See what I did there, Butch? Smooth as silk.
Yeah,
slide right in. Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Pretty slick.
Excuse me. I forgot to grab a water. Damn it. I knew I was forgetting something. All right. All right. We got like 10 seconds. Make sure if you're new here, if you like what we do, hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell thingy, whatever the hell that thing does. Manitoba Becky's here, looking gorgeous as ever. Apparently she got a new pair of shoes recently. Hi, gorgeous Shanna. The guy from Pittsburgh. Why did you take a picture of my ass at the WooCon? Why not? All right, everyone. Here we go. Oh, God. Hey, Chris, how are you? From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Now, if you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show and on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. All right, let's do this thing, because it's time once again for us to welcome the king of crankiness in the cryptid world, Mr. Butch Witkowski. Yes, for more than 20 years, Butch has been looking into everything strange and abnormal across the United States and around the world. And once a month, we love bringing Butch to you, the SOR listeners. Butch's nonsense approach to investigating has him running around looking for monsters, legends, and the folklore people claim to encounter. If it's strange, it's better for Butch and his UFO Cop team. Website, ufocop.com. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Butch Witkowski, always a pleasure to have your crankiness on our airtime. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Always a pleasure to be here.
Yep. Always a pleasure to have you here as well, buddy. So it's been a month since we had you last on the air, and I got to ask you, man, lots has changed around the UFO and cryptid worlds, and, we see a little bit more going on with disclosure around the United States. Is it going to happen? Is it not? The government seems to be taking this a little bit more seriously. Let's kick things off and just ask you what you think about that so far.
Well, a lot still needs to be disclosed, but I think it's going to get there eventually. It's piecemeal. It's garnered a lot of television time and media time, so we'll see where it goes as far as what exactly they're going to let people know. But until it's full disclosure, it's pretty much going to stay the way it's always been.
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, there's always been, like, over the many years, little uprisings about disclosure. Some got bigger than others. I mean, with Washington meetings and conferences and all that stuff, and then it seems to go away because they're not any further than they were when they started. And then some time will go by, and again you'll get the shouting crew on disclosure, demanding, and again you go to the conferences and more meetings and more disclosure groups popping up asking for money. But when the time is right, I guess they'll just come out with it. But I don't see that really in the near future.
Butch, there's so much being made of the whole idea that the government is now announcing that, they have this new group out there that is going to be searching for unidentified aerial phenomena within the United States airspace. This is stuff that's been going on for decades. Should people actually be shocked by this actually coming out?
No. Like you said, it's been going on for many decades. I mean, the known groups that are out there, which there are many, but there are a lot of unknown groups out there that have been doing this for a long, long time. And, they keep their stuff private. They're not on TV. They're not in the media giving all the information, because the minute that happens, they kind of get tagged as, another TV show or another reality show or something else. So I think in time, it's going to be one of the groups that are out there that have been out there for a long, long time. Like I said, a long time, 30, 40 years, some of them. And, they're not sharing their information. They're just doing their due diligence and doing what they got to do. And maybe they'll be the first ones out before the government. Never know.
Really? So you don't think anything's going to change, especially with the way that the narrative is growing with this?
Well, probably the only thing that's going to change is they're going to feed the public more little tidbits. But we're not the only country that's been involved in this. I mean, many naval forces from around the world have seen and photographed and tagged USOs. Many countries in Europe have photographed and chased UFOs. Japan is another one. The Asian countries especially have tagged a lot of UFOs. Spain, South America, Brazil. I mean, people don't hear those or see those reports because a lot of them really aren't on the net. They're shared between, groups in that particular area or with maybe one researcher. And they tried having researchers from, South America pop up on TV every now and then and tell you all what's going on, but that never caught on either because, they're just not believable. People want to see the evidence. The stories, they can turn on cartoons every Saturday morning if they want stories, but people want the evidence. They want to see the pictures. They want to see the video. They want to see the, I don't want to use the word interrogation, but the investigation of the witnesses. And they don't have to make their names public or their faces public. But people want more, and they deserve more. I mean, if you're going to tell somebody that there's stuff up in the sky that we don't know about, that has been there for a long, 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 long time, and, they're going to be benevolent or they're going to be malevolent, make up your mind which way it's going to go. But you're looking for an answer to a question, but nobody really knows what the question is. Like who are they, where are they from, what are they doing here, why are they here, all that stuff. But in time, maybe not in my lifetime, but in time, something will break or something will happen. I'm not saying there's going to be another crash like some people say, or there'll be another landing somewhere. Not going that far, but maybe, God forbid, some midair collision or something like that, or something that was actually photographed that caused a collision or a crash. That's possible, but I don't know. I would like to see it, the stuff disclosed, but I ain't holding my breath. You know what I mean?
Do you think there is a threat? Because we keep hearing this threat phenomena that is going around. You've been doing this for a long time, almost literally since they were banging out the 10 Commandments on stone. All right.
Pretty much.
So I'm just curious. Do you believe that there is a threat phenomena out there?
Sure. Why not? Why wouldn't there be? I mean, being civilized doesn't mean there's not a threat. I have yet to see or have any reports or read any reports of any individual space brethren come to here and, cure the common cold but abductions, that's not benevolent, that's malevolent. So, and then, there's the old argument, well, you have some good and you have some bad. Well, I guess there's some credence to that too, but nobody knows. We just don't have those answers. And, it's some these groups and some individuals, they get more airtime or they get more media coverage if they're out there saying that, the tall grays and the reptilians are, they'll rip you apart and they live in the ground and they're, they just concoct so many stories. And, they throw out that bucket full of fear. Well, then you have the other side that they throw out the bucket full of benevolence, but what have they done? They didn't cure a common cold. Nobody cured cancer. I mean, they haven't stopped wars or, all the stuff that's bad in this world. So I really don't. I think it can go both ways. I just don't think that there's enough information out there. Christ, we don't even know where they come from. We don't even know that there's anything flying those machines that we see in the air. They could be mechanical for all we know. And then, it's almost like beating a dead horse.
I understand that, and I can appreciate where you're coming with that, because you hear a lot of the nightmarish stories. You're somebody who isn't afraid to go down that road, but there's a lot of people out there who will say that they have had benevolent type contact. There's people out there who will say, I've seen little guys running through the forest. I've never been abducted. I just had this weird experience. So how do we track that comparatively to those who are having not very good time with these aliens here, buddy?
Well, it's a matter of the situation they're in. I mean, like Betty and Barney Hill, we'll use those for an instance, where they're driving home and they get abducted, and one thing leads to another, and pretty soon the name Grays is now in every dictionary in the world. And then you have a gentleman in Georgia who claims that, he was totally blind and he had a visitation, and all of a sudden he could see a gray, and the next morning he could see like he was never blind, but no proof, no information, no background story on that. So it's whatever flows, I guess, or whatever gets out there and people buy into. A lot of people buy into that they're benevolent, and there's a lot of people buy into that they're malevolent. So, there's a heck of a lot more reports on abductions and people being, operated on and kind of dissected and whatever, than there are any reports of people being, the cripples could walk, or somebody turning water into wine. Wait, somebody did that already. But you know what I'm saying? There's always one side, and then there's the total opposite on the other side. There's no in between. And, when somebody claims that, they were blind and now they can see, but then that's the last you hear of them. There's nothing more on that. No other reports, no backup, no media involvement or anything like that. So I guess it's just the way it's going to be until there's actually somebody or some country or government steps forward and says, okay, here you go. This is it. Roswell was not real, but this one was. Or Roswell was real and this one wasn't. So, and they offer that proof. So, well, because the people are going to demand proof.
No, and that leads to my next question in regards to proof. People are tired of stories, Butch. They're tired of fake videos. They're tired of CGI. They're tired of firsthand accounts. and they want that proof. They want that video. They want that photograph. They want that scientific evidence of a Bigfoot body or a dogman body or something that really is so can't miss that they can say, holy cow, it's true. It's not a rumor. It's true. So I'm curious, how do we change that? Because we don't have that right now. Any new video that comes out is so highly scrutinized one way or another that nobody even believes it. I mean, you could have an alien show up and land their craft right on the White House lawn. There's going to be an entire group that calls it CGI. Another calls it a false flag. Another one calls it just fake footage. It's everywhere. How do we get to the truth anymore?
Well, what we've done, I've basically written off setting up cameras that just take pictures or video. I mean, that just seems to me to be, always has been, really a waste of time. I think the best route, and you're seeing more and more researchers going to it now, where they're using infrared and thermal imaging. You can't mess with a thermal image. So it may not be the perfect black and white or the perfect color shot, but you will be able to see the shape. You'll be able to tell distance, you'll be able to tell temperature, you'll be able to make out features, and I think that's going to be the route, especially with Bigfoot. More and more researchers, just over the last maybe year and a half, 2 years, are just loading up with thermal imaging and infrared, because when you're out in the dark in the woods, or if you're just looking up at the sky for about an hour, besides getting a kink in your neck and you're catching flies with your open mouth, you got a video of a light going across the sky. Well, like you said, CGI, you can make those up day and night. Thermal imaging, it's too far away for that, so that kind of takes that out. But now if you've got a craft coming out of water, or a landing area or something like that, where you see it, it's on thermal imaging, you got it in video and still pictures, it's kind of hard to debunk that. It's like the old Polaroids. You couldn't debunk them. And you're going to see, I think in time, like we did, we converted, or not converted, but we replaced all of our game cams with thermal imaging and infrared, because it's like you said, if Bigfoot walked by one of my cameras and I put it out on the internet that here's Bigfoot walking by one of my cameras, first thing somebody's going to yell is CGI or bullshit. But if I have something walking through the woods that is now a thermal image, which you can't screw with, I mean, it is what it is. So now what is it? Does it resemble or look like the descriptions of Bigfoot? Is it bigger? Is it smaller? Does it look like a bipedal canine? Does it look like this? Or does it look like an alien? That's the only way I think you're going to be able to get it out there and prove it.
I got to tell you, and we're gonna talk a lot more about cryptids tonight. I got to tell you a weird story. So yesterday, we went there were 6 of us who went out for a ride to the area where we had the Bigfoot encounter at the plane crash site. And I've told you that story. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I always have a lot more questions than answers. So for people who don't know the story, myself, Merle from Ghosts of the Great White North, and my buddy Little Marquis Spender, who's probably listening in right now, in October of 2018, we went because Merle wanted to do a paranormal investigation at this airplane site where 52 people died back in 1965. And there's still plane wreckage in the forest there. And in that area, you have to go in armed and because it's dangerous. There's a lot of wild animals in there that can kill you. And so we literally, to make a long story short, got chased out by what we believe was a couple Sasquatch. We heard them talking. Now, in this area, which is very rural, 25, 30 miles into the forest, there's one road in, one road out, and we were on that only road. And I can tell you this, we heard them talking, and there were two of them. At least that's how many we know of. Well, yesterday we go back out to the site, Butch, and we end up going, we ride our side-by-sides in there, and we start taking the trails because I wanted to set up a gifting site there just to see what would happen. Okay. So I start making my way to where Merle had his encounter, which was about 25 feet behind him once we came out of the meadow after hearing this one talk. Okay. It almost sounded like the Sierra sounds back in 2018. And so I start walking a trail, and no word of a lie, this trail starts opening up almost like it is an animal highway, dude. Like this thing is almost this trail, which is hard to find in nature, and especially in the thick bushes where we usually go. But this trail, Butch, is literally probably the size of two doorways. Like if you were to measure your door, then put another door beside it. That's how wide it was.
Okay.
And it's all in moss. The entire ground is soft grass and moss. And all of a sudden I solved the riddle from knowing where Mike and I had that encounter where we heard the voice, and then when we went back to the crash site, how that creature or whatever it was got from where it was making the noise to where Mike was standing about 20 feet away. We found the trail. And so we started walking in there, and we come to this opening, this little meadow opening that's maybe 12 feet around. I start getting lightheaded and can't breathe. Mark starts vomiting in there. Okay. And we got out and we continued down the trail, found this big giant tree that's probably, I'm going to say 9-10 feet around in diameter. And we put up the gifting site there. So now we're going to go back in a couple of weeks. But it was so strange, Butch, because we literally did not know. One of the mysteries that we wanted to solve was how did that creature get from way back there to where Mike and I were, where we heard it talking, all the way to where Mike would have been standing a little bit later near one of the part of the plane debris. And we were able to find that. And then at our other gifting site, sorry, I'll let you comment on that first.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, any idea why people started feeling funny and getting sick?
No. You know what? It was weird, Butch, because there were the way the trees wrapped around this, and there were sticks on the ground that were kind of like cordoning off the area. It was almost like it was some sort of portal type area.
Well, that makes a little more sense, because people that have reports of people that have said that they've encountered portals or gotten close to what they believe to be portals, lightheadedness, migraine type headache, sour stomach, coughing, that's always kind of been there.
Yeah.
So maybe it is a portal.
I have no idea, but it was strange.
I just wish we knew more. I just wish we knew more about portals. I really do, because they fascinate me. Especially with the Bigfoot sightings that have come across in the last just a few years, where somebody's walking through the woods, there's nothing going on, they see a bright flash of light, next thing you know, there's a Bigfoot standing there, or they see a Bigfoot and there's a flash of light and he's gone. What's with the lights? You know what I'm saying? I always laugh when people talked about portals, because it always seemed to me like it was convenient,
right, to
say that, I saw one, but he disappeared, or I didn't see one, but he appeared.
Hold that thought. We're going to continue this conversation when we come back. Butch Witkowski's Strange Days continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Yeah, dude, it was weird. It was very weird.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the
like I said, I've heard that before. When people were describing portals or doorways or kind of a blurry spot in a clear opening that they didn't want to get too close to, but they started getting ill. There was one report a couple years ago where a guy went to his hunting spot where he always goes to, and he approached his tree stand. As the closer he got to the tree stand, the sicker he got in his stomach. Next thing you know, he's shitting his pants.
Well, that's
I fucked up his hunting day.
That's not very fun.
No.
Oh, hey, I'm gonna quickly run and grab a glass of water. I'll be right back. Okay. You can.
And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
All right. So everybody on YouTube, you're going to get dead air for about a minute or less. You know, it's really... Oh, you're not watching the YouTube feed, are you, Butch?
No.
It's too bad, because I actually have two old pop cans from the crash site that we have on tape of me asking if I could take them, and through a spirit box hearing the words, "Yes, you can."
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what I wanted to say was, with the guy that the hunter that crapped his pants, he said when he got within 20 feet of his stand is when he started feeling upset. And he said that the stand and the tree it was on all of a sudden start to get all wavy and blurred out. But then he turned around and went back.
No kidding.
That's weird. Well, it's like steps in the middle of the forest. I mean, they're still being reported.
Yeah. Well, I love that story. I don't know what I would do if all of a sudden I showed up at one of my gifting sites one day and all of a sudden there's a fucking stairway, hanging out right there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what I would do. I really don't.
I would get back on my ATV or in a truck or whatever and beat it out of there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my buddy Bart is just killing me in the chat room right now. Just killing me. Joshua, go to the SOR vault on our website at spacedoutradio.com. You can get them right there, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, we've got 1 minute, Butch. 1 minute.
Okay.
Should actually give a shout out to Joshua and the 955 crew up in Fort Mac, tuning us in, working their asses off up there. Yeah, I like the blue collar people, man. You guys are awesome. You're working hard, keeping the lights on in this country and for around the world, man. Keep up the great work of what you guys do. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Really do appreciate that. Yeah, Mike started getting a headache too. when we were up there.
Hmm.
He never gets headaches.
That's weird.
Oh yeah, man. It was a cool feeling. Cool feeling. All right, we got about 15 seconds. Everybody on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning us in. 149 people, and we're 35 minutes in. Let's see if we can break our record. I think our record's 186. Last time we had Butch on. Cable Guy Matt's here, everybody. Cable Guy Matt. Got to remember, you can get your free piece of coaxial cable courtesy of Cable Guy Matt. Limit 1 per household. You cannot buy these in stores. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for tuning us on in. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Butch Witkowski's Strange Days continues right now as we're talking about weird things in the forest. What the hell is causing all the noises, the sickness, the portals, and all these weird, strange stairways that pop out of nowhere? Butch's website, ufocop.com. Butch, welcome back.
Yes, sir.
Good to have you here, man.
It's always good to be here. Always have fun on this show.
Yeah, I know. You remind me every time, man. Every time. No, I'm kidding. We love you around here. We do. We love you, and our audience loves you as well, and we always appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. Butch, right before the break, we were talking about Bigfoot and weird stories, and I got to tell you, I got another one for you, because this is when I get to update you. So we went a few days ago to check the original gifting site that we have, and nothing had moved. Okay. Typical, nothing moves. Nothing ever moves, except the one car. The one green car was actually still in the tree this time, not on the ground, which is kind of cool. But when we came out, we're looking along the old logging road for any type of paths, because now we're checking for any game trails around the area. And first time ever, man. First time ever, had a rock thrown at us. Wow. Didn't see it. We heard it right. We heard it right behind us.
My researchers.
Yeah, heard it right behind us. Didn't happen again. We asked for it. We stayed there for about another. We're getting ready to leave. And we ended up staying there another half hour, 40 minutes, trying to get another rock thrown at us, but nothing happened. Nothing. But that's okay. Main thing is, it finally happened. I hadn't experienced that before, but it finally did. What do you think they're throwing rocks for?
I really don't have an answer for that, but it did happen to one of my researchers. He was up north a little bit, checking out a trail, and the trail on one side of the trail is all very heavily wooded. On the other side of the trail is a good-sized hill that goes up to a flat spot on top of the mountain there. And he was just walking along, and he didn't call it a rock. He called it more like a boulder. He said it was about the size of a soccer ball, and it hit a tree, and it actually scored the tree. I mean, knocked the bark and stuff off of it. And he thought, like, who in the hell could throw something that far? Because when he heard it, he saw it coming down off the flat top of the mountain. And from there to where he was standing, where it hit the tree, he said, it's a good 150 feet. And whatever. Why they do that, I have no idea, but there's been reports of guys out fishing where rocks were thrown at them. I don't know if it's to scare you off or just to let you know that they're there. There's got to be some kind of reason, but I would probably tend to lean more toward, you're on my property, get the hell out of here type of deal, and try to scare you off. But that's the rock throwing is pretty common.
I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy. The problem is it happened behind us. So it happened right by my truck. And I did not see it. Mike did not see it. We were totally looking in a completely different direction. And that's where it happened. Right?
Mm. That's, well, the only reason my guy saw it coming was because he heard it. You know, he heard the rustling in the brush at the top of the hill, and you know, when he looked up to see what it was, or you know, it was on its way down. But it's just like he said. He said if it would have hit him, would have killed him. He said no ifs, ands, or buts about that. He'd be dead.
Mm-hmm. Well,
he said took a chunk out of. No, he said it took a chunk out of the tree. So he said that could have been my head. I went like, so what did you do? And he said, well, he thought about going up the side of the hill, but he said it's just too steep. He would have had to go all the way up the other side of the mountain and down around the trail. And he said he was sure by that time it wouldn't be there. But those stories are, I mean, a lot of people, it scares them. You know, you're out fishing on a lake somewhere and all of a sudden a boulder comes flying at you. You know, if it hits you or the boat, that's not good. But it's probably to scare you off. I wouldn't think it was like a friendly motion.
Yeah, I would still try it out though.
Although I do know some people that I'd really like to throw rocks at, but well, we'll not get into that.
Well, you know, a number of years ago, here in British Columbia, we're getting into the salmon season. The salmon are starting to run. Mm-hmm. And, this is going back 15 years or so. And I don't know if it's legend or if it actually happened. But there's one area near the Chehalis River, on the Chehalis River, which is where the famous name Sasquatch came from, which was the Chehalis First Nation. And
right.
Anyways, this beautiful river runs through this canyon, and there's an area with a giant pool in there that's very well known for being a hot spot for coho salmon. And so it's usually filled with fishermen. Well, this one day in the afternoon, these two fishermen were fishing in this pond, or in this calm part of the river. And all of a sudden, from the cliff, there was boulders being thrown down. Now, we're not talking rocks that, you know, an adult can throw. We're talking, 150, 200-pound rocks coming off the edge. And they actually saw one come down. And if it was human, we would be pushing it over the ledge. You know what I'm saying? We'd be shoving.
Yeah.
Okay. This one came from the air. Like it was almost catapulted. And after I think the third or fourth one that almost hit them, these fishermen got the hell out of there. But it happens. It happens. Yeah,
it does. And, it's like I said, these aren't little rocks. I'm not talking about people throwing a baseball-sized rock at you. I mean, these rocks are the size of bowling balls or bigger. And I'm pretty confident that Bigfoot does not own a Roman trebuchet. So catapult's definitely out of the question. So, but it's like people say, they've seen trees ripped up, trees broken, fresh trees, not diseased trees, fresh trees broken, 10, 15 feet off the ground, twisted and ripped apart. I just hope that somewhere along the line there's some type of contact, man.
Are we close?
Although after 50 some years, I'm not holding my breath.
Are we close? Do you think we're close?
I don't know. I don't really think so. I mean, there's people out there that are really going out with scientific gear. I mean, stuff that, if I got 5 people together, we couldn't afford to buy one piece of that gear. But I just think it's pretty much going to be like UFO. I always said that, all the time and effort and stuff that people put into UFOs and Bigfoot, somebody will walk out the front door one day and trip over a dead Bigfoot on his front porch, or some guy will go out to feed the cattle and there'll be a UFO parked on his lawn. So I just think it's going to be that stupid and simple. But I enjoy it.
Well, you should. Now, you mentioned that you're starting to hear more reports of these stairways that are just showing up out of nowhere in the middle of the forest. What are your latest reports on this?
Well, the latest one was a stone stairway, and that was up in the Mishong State Park. And when it was investigated, the stairway was there, but it's just like the guy that was there that investigated it. He said it kind of looked like it was part of a wall. There was a partial section of wall that was holding the stairway up. Now, he didn't see a foundation, but he was assuming that at one point it was a building of some sort, and whatever happened to it happened, and that was just the remainder of what was left, the stone stairway and a portion of wall. But there are people that have gone out and said, like, you know, I think the last one that I read was in Colorado. Yeah, there's a mountain pass that goes into a wooded area, and a guy hikes there all the time with his family, and they went in there, and he said it was never there before. And he said, and there was a perfectly good set of steps, 14 steps, wooden, looked like it was put there yesterday. No rhyme or reason. Nobody lives up there. There's no houses or anything up there. You know, the park rangers don't have anything up there. And he reported it. And I guess a couple rangers or maybe the local sheriff or somebody with authority went out to look, and it wasn't there anymore. So is it a stairway to, here we go again, a portal? Or is it just a figment of somebody's imagination? You know, without seeing it and really looking at it and actually touching it, I wouldn't walk up the steps, but I'd probably touch it. But I don't know. There's just so many weird things happening lately. It's just bizarre. I mean, stuff that we never heard of before. I mentioned it to you before the show, where right now France is they're going through a large, and I mean large, investigation of horses that are being mutilated, and they're emptied of blood. Now, horses have a lot of blood. I mean, cows have a lot of blood, but horses have a lot more blood. And there is no blood at the scene. Mutilations are similar to cattle here in the United States, and it's I think in the last 2 months they had 30 attacks reported in France. They're all pretty much the same. You know, the ears are cut off, eyes removed. The same as a cattle mutilation. And they have found young ponies that have been bled out. They hadn't been mutilated, but they've been bled out. So who knows? I mean, it's just another in that series of mutilations and animals. You know, England, all of a sudden it's sheep, and France now it's horses. Here in the United States, it's cattle. It's just, what was it? New Zealand, I guess it was. They were finding cats, feral cats that were cut in half, and nothing else was done to them. They were just cut in half, but no blood. So
that's just gross.
Of course, I had one.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that's a little gross.
That sucks. And the thing is that, you know, of course I had an email where somebody said, well, maybe it's vampires. That's not what I really needed to hear. But
hold on. Well, how do vampires come into play here?
Yeah. I just don't understand it. I mean, people have attacked animals for no reason whatsoever. You know, mostly young guys or kids, you know, just shits and giggles type of thing. But this is ridiculous. I mean, 30 reports in a very short period of time, and these horses are basically being ritually mutilated and emptied of blood. I mean, that's nuts. But we haven't figured out cattle mutilation, so it's probably not going to help us to figure out anything with horses. And the sheep in England all of a sudden turning up with all the markings of a mutilation of cattle, same things removed. And you have a mark behind the right ear on each one of them, 3 holes, and the brain's missing. So now what is that all about?
Is there any way that any of these types of mutilations can be construed as some pretty brutal, ritualistic heathens of human beings?
Well, yeah, that was looked at many, many times, but just due to the way the cuts are made and the knowledge it would take to do that, I mean, where you're going to remove udders from a cow, but you're not even going to touch a stomach. The incisions are precision, that where physicians and surgeons say, hey, we don't have the technology to do something like that, you know. I got a few scars from my operation, and it looked like the guy that operated on me was drunk. So, but there is a guy, a researcher in Puerto Rico that I've been in contact with now for a couple of years. And my question to him one time was, why do you think they take the same parts all the time? You know, the tongue, the eyes, anal glands, udders, you know what I mean? It's always the same things taken, as it is with these horses. And the blood's missing. And he said that he and another researcher, and these guys are both doctors, scientists, and he said the one thing that they found with all the things that were taken, and I'm by no means a scientist, he says has to do with the manufacturing of, or you could manufacture a fluid like serotonin, which would be, you know, has many uses, but it would be artificial. They can't duplicate the serotonin as it is, but with certain parts and certain mixtures and certain this and chemical and all that stuff, they can make an artificial serotonin. So now, what would an alien or being of that type need the serotonin for? And that's what they're working on now. Is it something that they have to have to stay in certain atmospheres or in their travels? I mean, you can go on and on and on with that, but that's the closest they've gotten from the last 8 years of doing it.
When these cuts are investigated, from what I have read up on a lot of these mutilations of animals, these cuts are laser-like. There's no serrated edges.
Oh, yeah.
There, you can tell the difference if it's a knife or something else, and this is not appearing to be very, very human. You know, is that still what's going on today?
Yes, they're absolutely perfect. I mean, if you or I would take a hunting knife or even a scalpel and remove the udders of a cow, dead cow, I will guarantee you that we will cut into the stomachs. That's a fact. Where these things, the udders are removed in a perfect circle. There's no burned edges. There's no damage to the stomachs whatsoever, not even a scratch. Same thing with the eyes and that area where the first cut is an incision is made in a circle. Then there's a second one made underneath that, and they're perfect. They're precision. I mean, the measurements are the same, the width is the same, and it happens in every case. So when people question that and said, "Oh well, we could do that with a laser and stuff like that," I mean, the medical people just went like, "No, we can't. Forget it. Ain't going to happen." Because with a laser, you know, when they open somebody up, there's a burn mark. I mean, they're actually burning through the flesh. these cuts are as clean as like cookie cutter. I mean, that's the way they look. That's the way they are. And nobody's come up with a way or a technique of how they remove all the blood. I mean, there's no, like a tube put into the heart or a tube put into a vein or something like that. I mean, there's nothing like that. So how do they extract the blood from an animal that big? Now, with a horse, I just can't even imagine that. But even cow, how are they extracting the blood? And these incisions, there is no blood. Same thing with the human mutilations. They were the same way. Precision cuts and no blood.
All right. So with that, are these animals usually dead when they're found, or are some of them still alive and struggling?
Well, they're not struggling. Some of them have been alive, and they've figured that out because I guess I can't remember the name of the horse anymore, but two detectives were standing there. The horse was laying on its side, had its eyes removed, and the one detective looked at the other one and said, now, the viscous fluid from the eye should run out the side, since it was on the ground on its side, should run out onto the ground. And he said, well, yeah. He said, well, how comes this one's running down straight down the middle of its nose? He said, wouldn't it have to be standing for that to happen? Yeah. And, you know, he had the same thing with certain human mutilations where the autopsies brought up vital reaction. And vital reaction means that whatever took place, that person was alive.
Right. Okay. So the first time I ever had you on the show about 5 years ago, we did talk about the human mutilations, and that's a pretty grotesque topic to discuss. Comparatively to what we're seeing now with these horses in France and the amounts of cattle that have been mutilated all over North America and the world, you know, what is your conclusion on this, as we have about 90 seconds to go before we go to break?
Well, it's now the guys down there in Puerto Rico, those two scientists, I mean, they're trying to put together the reason or what the combination or what combinations would be needed to make something out of all these parts that are taken. And I can understand that. And then you have researchers that were actually on the scene of a cattle mutilation within a day or so, and they get EMF readings from the cow. Why would a cow have EMF readings, electromagnetic field reading, and why? There's just no answer for that. And I mean, it's the readings jump off the scale. So, I mean, you would probably get the same readings if you stuck your head inside a microwave. But yet there's no damage like that to the animal. And then there have been cattle and some pigs that were found dead with no markings on them, nothing removed or anything like that. And they were like seen hours before. And then a couple hours pass by and somebody walks by and they're dead. And their lungs are filled with fluid. What caused that? Now, one doctor, I know there's, well, actually two vets that say, well, that could, you know, stress can cause that in an animal where, you know, they get stressed out and their lungs, basically, they catch an instant pneumonia.
Right. Butch, let's hold that thought. Let's hold that thought, because we are about to go to break here at the top of the hour, and I want to make sure that we don't miss anything with you regarding this subject and others, because we got a lot more to cover here on Spaced Out Radio with Butch Witkowski's Strange Days. We love it when Butch comes in once a month to break down all things strange, legendary, folklore-ish, and just downright awesome. Butch's website, uforcop.com. We'll be back with Hour 2 and Butch Witkowski right after this. Butch, I'm just going to run my dogs outside. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay, boss. I'm going to hit the head.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and we have some cool swag for you to pick up. All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the story you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, Space Travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts...
We got just over 2.5 minutes, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's your numbers?
We topped at 175, and during the breaks it usually comes down and then it'll jump again right after the break. Saw a wild horse yesterday.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You got wild horses up there?
Yeah. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Wow.
It was gray and black and Palomino style with the dots, spots on the rear. Yeah, he heard us riding, and if I would have turned down that trail, I would have seen them all, but I didn't want to bother him because there was like 3 of us in side by sides, and so I didn't want to bother the pack, but we all saw the one. He was beautiful. He was just beautiful. Looking gorgeous and healthy. See, Butch, once all this shit ends, you got to come up here. Oh, by the way, the countdown for you saying the word shit is twice in 1 hour. I got to get you to eliminate that if you don't mind.
Okay.
The terrestrial radio stations don't like that. But I got a good beard going on, making my face look much larger than what it actually is. So I'm going to continue to grow it here. I'm growing the beard out for a while. Which reminds me, now that I'm growing it again, we can remind you that I take care of my beard with Mighty Moose Beard Oil. Go to mightymoosebeard.com and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. Remember, if you're paying in American dollars, it is much cheaper because all the prices are in Canadian. So you just take a little bit like this. Just a little drop. Put it back. Then you massage it into your beard. It's also good for split ends in your hair, too, for you ladies. And it smells very foresty and manly. MightyMooseBeard.com. So make sure you check it on out. Use promo code SOR2019.
Scott.
Here we go.
Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in. We really do appreciate it, especially those listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. All of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Juglandacious. Juglandacious is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on the SOR Newswire. Yes, follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. It's Butch Witkowski's Strange Days. We meet up with Butch once a month to kind of check out all the weird and strange stuff he has been investigating. His website, UFOcop.com. Butch has been doing this for well over 2 decades now. Does anything ever scare you, Butch? Do you ever get freaked out anymore?
No, not anymore. At the very first, yeah, a little bit, but not anymore. Nothing surprises me anymore.
Okay, so in 2020, what's the strangest story you've heard? Is it the horses in France that are being mutilated, or is it something different?
Well, that's one of them. I think, the report by the Russian government on their investigation into the Dyatlov Pass incident from 1959, which they started on their own in 2019. And everybody pretty much knew it was going to just be, a blow-off. So when the report came out back in July, I believe, it was July, they said that they all died of hypothermia. Well, that's nonsense, because most of these people were really beat up. I mean, crushed ribs, fractured skulls, broken bones, body parts removed, but they don't mention any of that. They just say that the people exited the tent, no reason given for that, and they died of hypothermia. Well, at 40 degrees below zero, running around outside in barefoot or just your underwear, I'm pretty sure hypothermia would be a case. But the good thing is that the Swiss and the German investigations that have been going on are continuing. So they've already ruled out, snow slides and avalanches, and I know a lot of people think it was an alien encounter, and then there's a lot of people think it was a military test of some sorts. Nobody really knows yet. I think we'll probably get more out of the Swiss and the German investigations than we got out of the Russian investigation. So I guess we're going to see eventually, but again, their report was pretty much nonsense. They never mentioned anything about the injuries or and they had some really bad, injuries that would kill you. Even in the original coroner's report, his final statement was the only way these people could have received the type of injuries that they received was if they had been hit by a speeding car. Well, it wasn't any speeding car. And the only footprints found at the scene, that was when a few researchers said it was a Bigfoot encounter, or mink in Russian. There were no other footprints but those made by the hikers. There were no other footprints found. There was no evidence of any military encounter of any type. I know the one report a couple of years back stated that, they were killed off by the Army. They were, beaten to death. Well, they were beaten to death. There'd be marks, but no, the whole thing just stinks. It's some people say it was military testing. And of course, you have the Mansi tribe that lives on that mountain or near the mountain that say that that's just the way it is. They're not the first group of people to go missing. There were other people missing years before that. And that was a group of Mansi hunters, actually, that went missing. And they were never found. Again, another investigation where everybody was kind of putting a little hope into it that they'd come up with something. And hypothermia was not the answer by any means.
What's new in the Dyatlov Pass case that has really, really intrigued you recently? Because I know there's a lot of new studies coming out from that case right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is that the team from Switzerland, one of the things in the Russian original investigation was that it was a snowslide or an avalanche. And if that would have been fact, or it could have been proven there was a snowslide or an avalanche, the tent wouldn't be there. The tent was still there. The tent was staked in down just the way it was, with the exception of the cuts to the side where they exited. And a few years went by where they actually tried to cause an avalanche or a snowslide in that same area, and they couldn't do it because there's not a steep angle to that mountain to where they were. The entrances to the tent were not blocked. The pictures show all of that. And the footprints wouldn't have been there if it would have been any type of snowslide, and the pictures of the footprints are still there. Taken when the searchers and rescue team got there. It just something scared the crap out of these kids. And you could see in the tent, which I never saw before, but then they had a real good blow up. But there was actually, besides the slits where they exited, the long slits in the side, there were little slits at the top, like you'd make a little slit to look out of to see. So whatever was out there, it was enough to scare them out of their wits to run out into the snow in basically underwear and no shoes or socks. But the encounter of the injuries, when you read the autopsy report or you look at the pictures of the injuries, it's crazy. It looked like they jumped in front of a train, for crying out loud. And to say that they died of hypothermia, well, the one guy's skull was smashed. Even in the autopsy, they said he probably would have lived about 15, 20 minutes at the most. Well, he didn't die of hypothermia. Blood in lungs during the autopsy was found. So somebody dying of hypothermia, there would be no blood in the lungs. and there were just so many things wrong with the investigation versus the coroner's report and the photographs of taking of the bodies before and during and after the autopsy. And whatever happened, it had to be so terrifying that these kids, put their lives in absolute danger to get away from it, whatever it was. So hopefully the Swiss and the German investigations go a little better than the Russian one, because the Russian one really didn't tell us anything. These bodies were 2 weeks in the snow before they were found. Of course they died of hypothermia. But then again, you had three of the hikers tried to get back to their tent, and they died on the way back. So it's a very strange, odd case. It's been going on since 1959. And, there's been a lot of conclusions, but there's just little things that kind of bother researchers, like the head investigator that was there from day one. He actually quit, said, no, I'm out of here, and he left. Now, why did he leave? If it would have been that simple a thing where it was hypothermia or some kind of animal attack, and which they disproved, there was no marks like that on the body of any animal attack of any type. Some of them had burns on their legs and chest. I don't know. There's just so many questions to that. And, you can go on each individual hiker and read the story on that particular hiker. And when you get to the bottom with, all of them, it just makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. And the archives with the original reports and stuff like that are still kept by the Russian government. They have not been made available. There have been researchers that got to see them, but to get to see them, it was like the person that was in charge of that held the report while you glanced over it, and then they quickly turned the page to the next page, next page, next page. So you really didn't get to see anything. So whatever happened, whether it was something the government did, or the only thing, the reason the government thing comes up is because a number of years back there was a scientist who was working on a project, and this goes back into that 1955, 56, 57 era, where they were testing two-stage rockets, and they were firing these things all over the Ural Mountains, because there's the only people who live up there, like indigenous, the Mansi. And I don't know. I really don't know. There's so many ways you can go with this, but the only people that really seem to be involved in trying to find out the truth is the Swiss team and the German team, and they're made up of all investigators and scientists. And they've tried a number of things as far as what could have caused them or scared them out of that tent, and they can't come up with anything that way. Bigfoot's out of the question. The government says that they weren't doing any testing, so take that with a grain of salt. The Mansi didn't kill them. They weren't shot. They weren't stabbed. They weren't beaten to death. But they had these crushing injuries that, in the report, the original report, it says the injuries were caused by an unknown compelling force. What the heck is an unknown compelling force?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's where they left it. Unknown compelling force. What does that mean?
You know what's mystifying about the whole Dyatlov case is if it was alien or if it was something that was a monster, okay, we never had a repeat of anything like this. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like it's a one and done scenario, which obviously adds to the mystique of it all, Butch. totally adds to the mystique.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing, that it hasn't happened again, because we don't want what happened to those 9 to happen to other people. But that being said, you would expect something more to happen, or to be other signs of even something similar, Butch, but we haven't even seen that.
No, and there hasn't been any reports in that area, other than there were 9 hunters that went missing. And now this was before the Pass incident. This is, I think it was like 8 years before that. Nine Mansi hunters went out to hunt, and they never returned. But they basically chalked that. They never found them, so they basically chucked it off that they got caught in a storm and lost, and that was the end of them. There was reports of an airplane crash, again with the number 9 people on board, pilot, co-pilot, stewardess, and the rest were passengers that crashed east of Mount Orton. But there's no reports on that whatsoever. That, I don't know if that's just hearsay or a story put out to just mislead people. But it's a very strange case. I mean, it's very odd. I mean, for all the information they have, and with the bodies and the clothing and the tent and footprints, and they basically know where they went, where they were found. They have all that information. And they come up with hypothermia. Well, the temperature was 40 degrees below zero, so hypothermia, that's fine, but it doesn't explain how they were busted up the way they were. And why would the autopsy report state they were killed by an unknown compelling force? It didn't say hypothermia. That hypothermia thing came from the new Russian investigation that started, last year.
Davin is wondering what your thoughts are about the alleged photo of the Bigfoot-looking humanoid on the camera by the hikers.
Well, that photograph was really dissected. Now, where it wound up with, you have locals, Mansi especially, and some researchers saying that it's definitely a mink, and a mink is just the Russian word for Bigfoot. And the other half said that it was one of the hikers stepping out behind the tree, looking at whoever was taking the picture. But again, you got that good old blurry photograph, you know what I mean? So, which kind of basically follows Bigfoot everywhere. I think most of the researchers put the Bigfoot thing aside because there was no signs of that type of a creature in either footprints or hair on the body, or blood splatters from getting smacked in the head, or there was just it wasn't like they were attacked by something normal. The unknown compelling force, I think, is the biggest part of the investigation, which I know a lot of people lean toward the military end of it, like they were testing something, or these kids were in a place where they shouldn't have been. And that the bodies with the radiation. Well, they said, at the school they went to, they would have came in contact with some radioactive material, but the ones that didn't have that contact also had it. So you have the radiation. One of the high topics on the report from Russia says it was definitely not aliens. Now, why would you put that on there if you're saying they died of hypothermia? Nobody ever said aliens. Aliens was brought up, Bigfoot was brought up, storms were brought up. There were a lot of reasons brought up for their death. Even, fighting amongst themselves. And there were all kinds of things brought up. So why would their report, the heading on their report, say, Dyatlov case completed, it was not aliens?
That is strange. There's no need to say that. Unless you're just trying to calm the entire area, in a sarcastic way. No, people, it was not aliens. You know where I'm going with that?
Yeah, and the strange thing about that is that in all the reports, there's a lot of reports on this case. I mean, they're all over the place. In Russian, if you want to get them translated, in English, they're all everywhere. Photographs, autopsy reports, the whole 9 yards. In none of those reports, not one, do they mention aliens. None. Now, the alien thing has come up with researchers, of course. They'll come up with anything they can think of. But, and the last picture of the camera, with the two white spots in it, they say, well, it looks like maybe some type of an explosion in the air, or it might have been a landing of an alien craft. Well, that camera was in water, frozen in water, for months. I mean, it's a film camera. Russian cameras were never really realistically good. So, I mean, I wouldn't base anything on that. The pictures before the incident where, they're having dinner, they're talking, they're laughing and carrying on and all that stuff, nobody looked like they had any fear of anything. And the gentleman that left got sick and went back. When he was questioned about it, he said, I have no idea what happened. When he was asked about mink or Bigfoot in that area, he said, no, we didn't see anything like that. And, he was at a loss. He didn't know what to say. They didn't kill themselves, that's for sure. And the amount of damage to their bodies is just unreal. I mean, for the doctor at the autopsy to say an unknown compelling force, like they were hit by a car. I mean, wow. But the good part of that is, as far as the investigation goes, is the footprints were still there. There were no other footprints other than them, barefoot and with socks. Clothing was intact, what they had on.
Right.
Now some of the clothing was burned, but that could be where they tried to start a fire. One gentleman was missing his jacket, but his jacket was found on one of the women. I guess he passed away, and she grabbed his jacket for warmth. But it's crazy. It's you don't know where to go with it. I mean, everything's been looked at. And it's definitely not a snow slide. It's definitely not an avalanche. Like the one Swiss guy said, look, if it was an avalanche or snow slide, the friggin' tent wouldn't be there. The tent's there. It's still staked down. I mean, it's there. Now, it's collapsed because they cut holes in it, but the tent is there, and it's intact. Their poles, their walking poles were still stuck there. I mean, that stuff would have been down in the tree line, which is a mile away.
Interesting. Butch, we only got about 40 seconds left to go. Is this a mystery that will ever be solved?
Somebody will talk sometime. Somebody will talk sometime. Or this Swiss-German team or teams will come up with something to look at. But at this juncture, with the Russians handling the investigation, not a chance.
Well, it's another one of those that we will wrap up in the books, and I know we will continue to talk about on this show as well. Butch Witkowski's Strange Days happens near the end of each month, where we bring in Butch from UFOcop.com to talk us through all of these interesting, very highly controversial subjects of the paranormal. More with Butch Witkowski on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Hey, Horror Realm. Yes, we have had Keith McCluskey on the show. It's been a couple of years, probably due to get him on.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lady, I forget her name. She is the Dyatlov Pass. Excuse me. Website, which is just phenomenal. Just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird case. But to say they died of hypothermia, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard of.
Sounds like you better go off on it.
You could have been perfectly healthy and walked out there in your underwear in 40-degree below weather, and you would have died of hypothermia. That was a guarantee. But the injuries are horrific.
Yeah, I don't understand that, man. Don't understand that. I think I don't even know where to go with it because there's just so many plausibilities, you know?
Yep. You're right.
Just way too many plausibilities with it.
Well, maybe in time something will pop up. Maybe not.
Where do you want to go next?
UFO reports, I guess.
Sure. We can do that. We can do that. We've got about 3 minutes.
Okay.
Got 184. We're 2 from tying the record. 2 from tying the record.
That's wild.
Yeah. Did it touch 187? I didn't see it at 187. I've only seen it at 184. Because if it touched 187, if we can get some verification on that, we would have set a new record. It was 186 for a couple of minutes, so we thank you, Lee A. I did not see 187. Sounds like we may have broken the record, Butch, to 187. We're getting confirmation from the crew at 187. Hey, Know Your Realm, welcome back. We got 1 minute, Butch.
Okay.
All right. I want to remind all of you that if you haven't hit that subscribe button to us, we'd really appreciate if you did, and hit that little bell thingy, because it'll tell you when we are about to go on. Once again, at least I think it does. If you like this show, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You can't give a thumbs sideways, because they don't allow that. But, we're here 5 nights a week live on YouTube, Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. You can also check out our website, spacedoutradio.com, where you can do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, read up on the news with Captain Shirk, as well as join our Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. Here we go with the second half of the show kicking off right now. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune us on in tonight. I want to remind you that if you have missed portions of this show or others, all of our archives are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. On Instagram, follow us at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. We continue the night with our good friend Butch Witkowski from UFOcop.com. We're going to get into a little bit of UFOs right now with Mr. Butch, because, well, that's just the direction that it takes. Butch, what's happening in the sky above?
Well, in the last 3 months, orbs have always been seen, right? And strange lights in the sky. But in the last 3 months, there have been way more reports of these orbs being seen, or bright white lights, circular in size and shape and all that stuff. But they're in formations of 3 or more. Some cases there's 6, some cases there's 3, some cases there's 9. It's almost like a fleet, you know what I mean? And they fly where you may have one large one, then out of the large one, 3 or 4 will come out of that one, and then they'll pretty much line up and go back into the large one again, and then it's just crazy. And it's just not local. It's all over the country. These reports are coming in where they don't see just one, and if they do see one, it breaks into more. But they're seeing, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10 of them at one time. And they're basically, like everybody, almost all the reports, I'm going to say like 90% of them say the same thing, that they're almost like they're flying in a formation. And some will break off, and then they come back, and some go back into where they started, or they'll just disappear. And that's weird. We've seen orbs, a couple at a time, but not like that. Not where you're seeing 6, 8, 10 at a time, and especially flying in a formation. That's just not the way it is. And nobody really has an answer for that. And like I said, it's all over the country. It's not just on the East Coast or the West Coast. It's everywhere, every report, with very few exceptions. And triangle reports, which were like top of the line, number one for months and months and months and months, is now they're just rare. I think I saw 2 in the last month, and they were both on the West Coast. But I don't know the reasoning for that, why we're seeing more. There are a couple USO reports undersea, but they haven't come out totally yet, because I guess the investigations are still continuing. But that's strange also, because they're few and far between. Undersea reports are. If you see one a year, that's a lot. Usually every couple of years they'll pop up. But again, you're dealing with ships at sea, navies, different countries. Some talk, some don't. But it's just weird that these orbs are being seen in groups now. I don't know what that means anything at all. But that's odd, very odd.
Butch, for a lot of people who are staying home over the last number of months due to COVID and the lockdowns and people just not being very comfortable with going into public places, you know, I could see where people are spending more time in their yards staring up at the sky or getting into nature where there's nobody around. And that always creates opportunity. But the big question is, and I've wondered this as well over the last number of months, most people can't tell a drone from an airplane in the sky if the drone is high enough. A drone, especially in the evening or at night when it has a light on, will look like a UFO and not an airplane.
You can actually buy drones that look like a UFO. They're circular. You know, they have a little hump on the top, the lighting are around the edges, the blades are underneath, so you don't see them. They're very quiet. There was one in Illinois where the guy had a real good thing going. I mean, he had people lined up for blocks looking at this UFO, and it was actually his kid who was down the street sitting in the back of a station wagon, putting his drone up in the air and making it do all kind of silly stuff. You are correct in saying that people are out more, because a lot of the reports now are like, you know, from people saying, well, I never believed in anything like this, but, you know, this is what I saw, and it wasn't a meteor, and it wasn't, you know, a bolide or anything like that. It wasn't a meteor shower. And they start describing, you know, the aerodynamics of what they saw and how it was acting in the sky and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people are getting an education, which is good. And the fact that they can get outside and see that there are other things in the sky besides stars and planets. We've had a bunch of clear nights lately, but we've had a bunch of rainy nights too, like tonight. But the stars... I mean, it's very easy to tell something unidentified as opposed to a star, just because of their speed or color change or anything like that. But I think it's really neat that people are out doing that, and that's where a lot of these reports are coming from. People that are out, you know, stargazing.
Well, but the problem is, if you're not used to it, let's say you're from the city and all of a sudden you're going to buy an RV and take the new truck and trailer into the forest, do a little bit of camping to get away from people. You're not going to tell the difference between the International Space Station, a drone, or a satellite, let alone a UFO.
Right. No. It's people that have an idea what they're looking for. That's why they're looking up. I don't know how many times I've had that question asked to me at conferences or meetings or whatever, where people say, well, how do you see a UFO? Well, look up, right? So that's not the first thing on anybody's mind when they go outside and it's a nice starry night. And usually with a UFO sighting, it's something that happens pretty quickly and it catches your eye. When you know, if you're staring at the sky and you know, everything is the way it is, but all of a sudden something is streaking, zigzagging across the sky, that's not a star, and it's not the ISS. And if people want to see the ISS, I mean, they can go on NASA site and go on the tracking. They can track it. They can tell you exactly where it's at and when it's going to be there and what time and everything else. But it's, you know, it's the orbs. Like years ago, they were a big deal, and then they kind of dropped off, and now they're back again. And then you had the triangles, which were, you know, pretty much all the reports, and they dropped off. It just seems like there are so many different types of sightings in different areas that, you know, somebody on the East Coast is seeing orbs, but maybe somebody in the middle of the country is still seeing, you know, triangles. And some of the triangles you got to be really careful about, because we use those for, you know, surveillance. But It's the large ones, the very large ones that people are seeing where, it blocks out the stars. And, they say, well, this thing is like football fields in width and length and everything else. And it's pretty neat that people are, and just the fact that they're reporting it, which is unusual. Most people see stuff, they don't report it, but these people are reporting this stuff, and that's pretty neat because it helps us a little bit in, determining, if there's a flap or no, and flaps are few and far between.
Now, the sightings that you're getting, are these close up? Yeah. Mm-hmm. When people gauge distance, I mean, some people are very good at it. Some people are not so good at it. But, when they're saying that, they've seen a jet real high in the sky where, it's basically just two flashing lights and like a little pinhead, they said, well, we kind of realize that that's up at the 35,000, 40,000, 45,000 range. But this was way below that. They're saying might have been maybe 3,500 feet, 4,000, maybe 10,000, and size varies always. The higher up they are, the smaller they are. But the ones that are always intriguing are the ones where, they described something crossing from horizon to horizon in a matter of a second or less, and it's zigzagging, or it stops and makes an abrupt turn, or shoots straight up, or changes color and shoots up, or stops and falls and then picks itself up and goes again. I mean, the maneuver of the craft is what catches their eye mostly. Okay, so with the craft that they are seeing, are they just seeing the triangles or these rod-like entities in the sky, or what are they seeing?
They're seeing mostly right now. They're seeing mostly orbs and triangles, more orbs than triangles. But the rods, they are pretty much West Coast, and I don't know why that is. I have no idea. Some people say that they are an actual craft. Other people say that they are, a bug passing before the camera lens at a certain, there was really no explanation for rods. And I'll tell you, the ones that really did a lot of work on rods were the Japanese researchers. I mean, they worked on those for years and years and years, and they came up with so many different ways you could see a rod. I mean, you could be focusing a camera on something stationary, and just a quick movement by pushing, the shutter, you could cause a rod. Or it's like in the paranormal world, fairies. People taking pictures of fairies, and when you blow it up, it's a bug. It's a moth, or it's this, or it's that. So rods and the one guy that was investigating, I can't remember his name. He passed away years ago, but he really did a lot, and he was a staunch believer in rods. But there are pictures of jets, passenger jets, taking off from airports at night. And because the way the camera was set up, or the movement of the camera when the jet was taking off, looks just like a rod. I mean, identical. So I think rods have their own place, but nobody's ever figured out a place to put them yet, or really told us what they are, what causes them.
Are we seeing any beings coming out of these craft? Are they just in the air? Are they landing?
No landings. Everything's in the air. The last landing that had any credence to it was Socorro, New Mexico. Where you had imprints, you had melted sand, you had burn marks, you had everything there. Plus the eyewitness was a police officer. The hit on the coal train in Kentucky, that was, I can't remember what year it was anymore, but that was just a light. All they saw was a light coming at them, and the light bounced off the front of the engine. Did some serious damage to the engine. But, and there was a police officer in Kentucky where he encountered a light on the highway and caused damage to the car. I think the car is still in the museum in Kentucky, but it was a sheriff's deputy, and he wound up in a ditch. But I mean, there have been impacts with these orbs. They don't ever seem to get hurt or damaged, but whatever they hit, they damage severely. Like a train is not something that you're going to dent with a baseball. Your daddy's Buick. I mean, that's cast and steel, and it dented the front of that train up in the driver's compartment big time, and did some damage along the back of the train. But there's just so many things out there that we don't know. We know what to look for. We don't know what they are. We don't know who's piloting them. We don't even know if there's a pilot. Maybe they're mechanical. Don't know.
How many of these craft do you think are ours?
A lot more than we think. They're using triangle. I just read an article on that where they're using military triangle as surveillance craft and using them for taking measurements of the Earth. Mainly mountainous areas, and for whatever reason, they don't really give a reason, but they use them for mapping and surveillance. Because first of all, they're quiet; you don't hear them, and they're dark. They're black. So on a dark night, you're not going to even see one. Some are small, and some are extremely large. But I think the smaller ones are the ones they're using for mapping and that sort of stuff, where the larger ones, I think, are being used for surveillance. And, they have some pretty sophisticated cameras on that stuff. Well, they can shoot a license plate or tell you if your beard's growing in the right direction from space. So I'm sure they're surveilling whatever they're surveilling for a purpose.
Are abductions up as well?
Abductions were up. Yeah. Last month they were up about 8%. I think it was 8%. And now this month we haven't had any. But that doesn't mean you won't have one tomorrow morning. I mean, they're kind of weird because you'll hear one, or you'll get one, or see one, or report one, or get a report on one, and you might not get anything for 2, 3, 4 months, and then all of a sudden you get 3 or 4 in a day. The ones that interest me when there's multiples like that, or if they're in the same area. Like, and this goes back a lot of years. I can't even remember where it was. Cheyenne, Wyoming, kind of rings a bell. But a lady was claimed she was abducted, and a few days later, her neighbor, which was like across the street and down one house, said that he saw a bright light above her house, and when he stepped out, he didn't remember anything but waking up on the couch in the morning. He don't even remember going back into the house. So I guess the clue that kind of gave him the thought that he was abducted was his pajama top was on backwards.
Explain that. Explain that, where a lot of these abductees come back with their clothes on inside out or backwards, missing articles of clothing, wearing someone else's clothing. Explain that.
Yep. Well, I guess it's, it's not like these, whatever they are that are taking these people, shop at Brooks Brothers. So, I mean, they don't basically wear clothes that I'm aware of, other than this tight skin suit, whatever it is. But, if they're getting somebody ready to do whatever they do as far as sampling and stuff like that, they probably don't have a clue front from back, or like you said, somebody else's clothing. That's happened a number of times. There's a couple, and then they go back a long way too. They're back in the 50s and 60s where children were taken, a boy and a girl, a brother and a sister. They didn't remember it for many, many years, but when they did, what they did remember was that when they came back, they were started out playing in the yard, but when they came back and woke up, they were in their beds, and the boy had on the girl's dress, and the girl had the boy's jeans and flannel shirt on. So I guess it's just their ignorance of fashion.
What about people who are waking up with body marks or injuries that are now healed?
Well, I've seen injuries that aren't healed. At a conference in Washington, D.C. I was at. Oh my God, I forgot the guy's name, doctor. That's all he did. Anyway, he passed away. He was showing pictures of scoop marks. And, when you say scoop mark, a lot of people think something like, a sample a doctor would take of a tumor or something like that, just a little bitty thing. These things are like the kind of like you scoop out a cantaloupe, you know what I mean, on their thigh or their buttocks or their back or their shoulder blade, or there'd be the one that even intrigued him was there were a couple where he investigated people had a cut either on their foot, top of their foot, or on their forearm, or the palm of their hand, and the cut was there fresh, like it just happened a minute ago, and then within a couple days it was gone. There was no scar or anything. And so are they meant to be seen and not seen, or they're going to be there but they're not going to be there type of deal? There are reports where people had locked doors and windows, go to bed for the evening, and they wake up in the morning and like the windows open, or the storm doors open, or the sliding patio doors open, and they're not in their bedroom anymore. Now they're on the couch, or they're in a recliner, or on a chair sleeping. And some people leave with clothes and come back with no clothes. So as far as marks, bruises, holes, injection sites, cuts, black and blue areas, it runs a whole gamut of injuries. But I don't know. There's not that many people doing abduction research anymore, and I don't know why. It just seems like in the last maybe 3 years, it's kind of gone by the wayside. Now, whether that's people not making the reports, or the investigators are just not involved in it anymore, they're retired, or they just passed on, or whatever. But there's not that many out there. A couple handfuls.
Butch, we have just under a minute here before we got to go to break. Mario is asking, what about relocation events where people are taken but brought back into different areas, different homes, so to speak?
Oh yeah, the two I just mentioned, the boy and the girl, when they left, when they were taken and they came back and the clothing was switched, they were actually in their grandmother's house. They were in their house when they were taken, but they wound up in their grandmother's house. And then some people are just left on their lawn. Some people are taken from their car and, they're laying alongside the road when they wake up.
Oh, that'd be so
freaky. That happens a lot more than people think.
So freaky what's going on. Butch, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. 2 hours down, 1 hour to go on Spaced Out Radio tonight. We have Butch Witkowski for the next half hour, and then we're going to get into the SOR News Wire and a very, very busy Thought of the Day Let's find out what's happening with some bipedal canines. Bigfoot. Yeah, let's talk a little cryptids with the man, the myth, and the legend all rolled into one. Butch Witkowski and Strange Days. Butch, we just hit 190, 191. We're setting records here. We're nine away from 200. 9 away. I want 200 tonight. That was my goal for tonight.
Okay.
Yes.
What kind of time we got here, bub?
We got 6 minutes. I'll be right back, too.
Yep, okay.
Almost there, Butch. Just opening up my window.
I'm here.
All right. Go to break and we've dropped 10 people. Or, we've dropped 4 people. Oh, painful. Painful. We got 2 minutes. 2 minutes. New record there, Butchster. New record.
Wow.
They like you. They like you. Oh, we're back up to 190 now. We're back up to 190. All right, 90 seconds. Hi, Elaine. How are you? 192, Butch. We're 8 away. 192. Less than a minute here, buddy.
Okay.
All right. 192. Now, if we could get a majority of those, we could try and break our likes button, which is at, I think 100. Never hit over 100 likes. I think we hit 104, actually, to be blunt. All right. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up if you haven't already, or thumbs down, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Do a little shopping at the SOR Vault on our website, as well as join the Space Travelers Club from just $5 a month. Thank you. Here we go.
With us, head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune us in. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Revolution Radio and TalkStream Live. All of our archives are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Jugglindacious. Jugglindacious is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Butch Witkowski. Strange Days happens at the end of each month, where we take a look at all the weird, strange happenings that Butch has been investigating with his UFO Cop team. UFOcop.com is the website. And Butch, we always need an update on what is happening right now with these bipedal canines that you are so taken aback by, because they are mysterious, they are large, they are in charge, and they are scary.
Well, right now we're trying to get into some areas of caves where we've had reports, and they're just a little grown shut right now. So we gotta wait till the leaves and brush gets down a little bit. But although we've checked out other places, caves has been something that we didn't check out a whole lot at all. So that's going to be the next expedition out there. But as far as cryptids go, I mean, it's an everyday occurrence with cryptids. I mean, not so much bipedals, because I stay in our lichen loop, so I don't really go outside of that for investigations. But the Chicago sightings of flying humanoids, that's a daily thing. Down in the southern states, Georgia, North, South Carolina, you got swamp creatures now all of a sudden that kind of resemble a skinny, shorter, Bigfoot type looking creature. Some underwater creatures in swamp areas that are like again a smaller version of Nessie type of deal. So the cryptids keep coming in. Now, I want people to understand a lot of those are misidentification. But there are reports out there where, they are what they are. And there's plenty of people out there looking as far as Bigfoot and cryptids of all types. The swamp creatures is kind of new. It was big in the 60s and early 70s, and it kind of went away. The flying humanoids from 2018 on up till present day, I mean, they're seen all over the place in Chicago, Illinois, Wisconsin, in those areas. They're mostly seen around water. They're humanoid-looking, very large creatures. We're not talking like pterodactyl or anything like that, but they're just winged creatures, and they have a humanoid shape. Rakes, another one that's out there. Right now there's research going on a short, best description here, short, rake-looking, very thin, long-fingered, thin-legged, thin arms, very emaciated-looking creature with large eyes that is being seen in the woods. And again, that's also in the south, northern Florida, Georgia, in that area, mostly in heavily wooded areas, swampy type areas. Don't really do anything. They're just seen, and they'll it's like a stare down for a few minutes, and then they just off they go. And in one instance, I believe they recorded a screeching sound from one. But cryptids, those reports are always coming in. Dogman, I haven't seen any reports on Dogman for quite a while. Glowing white, unknown type of creature. And when they say unknown, they don't really know or can describe what it looks like, other than it's very large, usually glowing red eyes, and again, seen in heavily wooded areas. But as far as cryptids, I mean, like I said, they're out there all the time. There's always new reports almost on a daily basis. And since the uptake on cryptid reports started, now we're getting a lot of reports from the 60s and 70s, 80s, 90s into the 2000s of stuff that people saw back in those times, and they're pretty much describing what we're getting now. I mean, as far as current reports. So I don't know what's up with that. There's one place we really want to go, but we got to get some kind of permission because it was an old nuclear plant in Pennsylvania in the Quahana Wildlife Area where it's shut down for many years, but there's really weird reports coming out up there. Now, some people are kind of describing a thinner, taller Bigfoot, and they're describing not a bipedal as much as it pretty much sounds like they're describing something like in the werewolf line, you know what I mean? Kind of man, like a man, but the werewolf type, not the bipedal that's tall and muscular. So that's what we got planned. I really want to follow up on a report that's not too awful far from where I live, where there have been some strange creatures in a big state park. And I mean, it's big as 6,000 acres. But it covers 3-4 counties. But I've talked to the rangers down there, and they say, yeah, we get reports of stuff that we don't understand, or people can't understand, or people can't relay or relate to what they saw, or relate it to us of what exactly they saw or exactly where they saw it, because it's such a large place. So they're pretty much describing tall, pale, animal-looking creature in the 6-7 foot range. So we will see. Can only follow them up. That's really all we can do.
The people who are reporting these, what are they doing in that area?
That particular park has large camping facilities, large lake for fishing. They have swimming, archery range. I mean, they have a full gamut for campers, especially during the summertime. Now, they don't at the moment have a lot of people there because of the COVID. So they're kind of in like certain spots are open, but most of the park is closed as far as that goes. But it's just normal people. And then there's some people that actually live in that area, in the park itself, but they were grandfathered in because their family lived there before it was made a park. And we've had reports from them, too, of strange stuff that they've never seen before. So, they can't describe it other than, something huge and fast running through the woods on two legs, bipedal. I'm like, okay. But that's pretty much as far as their description goes. So, but it's so heavily wooded. I really couldn't even understand or see how they would even get that much, because I was just down there not too long ago, just last week, and the brush is so thick and so high. Because we've had a lot of warm weather, we've had a lot of rain, so stuff is growing. I did get to see 2 of the caves, but I couldn't even get close to them because the brush is so high. And it's just like the ranger said. He said, wait till autumn and the stuff dies down. He said, you'll be able to see them both real clear. And then I asked if he ever went into them, and he went like, no. And I'm not about to. I said, okay. But that's pretty much what cryptids. I mean, those reports are pretty much daily. And like I said, they're all over the country. West Coast, East Coast, Canada. Get reports out of Canada. So we just have to follow them up and see where they take us.
Butch, I'm getting a lot of people in our chat room on YouTube asking if you have any reports nearby that you could read to us so they could hear an example of what comes into you.
Do I have a report close to me? Hang on a minute. I might. Let's see here. Bear with me a second.
All right. See, this is what happens when people ask questions. Sometimes we get results. So Uncle Butch is actually going to get a report for us, so that way you guys can hear what he gets in and how it all goes. I think that works. That's a proper way of saying things. I'm not sure, but...
Okay, well, I guess we'll give you a bipedal report.
Sure.
So we have this particular report. There are 3 couples live on the same street, on the same road, next door to each other, so it's like 3 houses in a road. They abut a very large state game land and park in central Pennsylvania. They occasionally go for walks. They occasionally picnic in that area. This took place back in April of this year, and April of 2019. And they went for a walk And this park has walking paths, and they also have bicycle paths, which they use sometimes. But they were on the walking path, and the three couples were just, doing their thing. It says we were walking in the very familiar stretch of woods, and from out of the tree line, which is about 25 yards from the walking path, this creature stood out and just stared at him. The lady one of the ladies flipped out, started screaming and carrying on, and the creature made 4 steps toward them, growling, which we never had happen before, and they turned around and ran back to where they started from. He describes the creature as about 8 to 10 foot tall, large wolf head, massive chest, very thin in waist, very heavy leg, muscular arms and hands, backward legs, hocked legs like a dog, he said backward, glowing yellow eyes, extremely large wolf head, pointed ears, and he said basically it just generated a collective terror with all of us. And it wasn't his wife, but it was another neighbor's wife that freaked out. And basically it was doing what it always does in all the reports we have, where it just walks out on you. But with this lady screaming, I don't know what aroused him or got him in the mode to walk toward him, growling. That never happened before. So, but the one thing that does stand out in every report that we've ever gotten is that people feel, this is not a good place to be right now. I need to get out of here or I'm going to die. And they have a fear that comes over them and just sets the impulse of fear and flee right into motion instantly the minute they see it. So, and that's a pretty basic report. Some go into a little more detail, where they're familiar with a certain area in the woods. They go pretty much, whether it's, walking dogs or going just for a walk by themselves or whatever. But it's like I said from the very beginning when I started investigating these things, when I found a report from 1868, in Erie, Pennsylvania, where a farmer had one of these attacking his livestock, and he shot at it. And then he goes into town to the constable, because there were no policemen back then, so he went in to report it to the constable, and of course the constable gave the information to the newspaper, and the newspaper printed the article. And he described in great detail exactly, not close to, but exactly what we have investigated right now. Size, shape, color, eyes, body build, the whole 9 yards.
That is just creepy. Creepy. The aggression on these creatures, now that more people are having these encounters, is the aggression picking up with these creatures?
That is the only one that we've ever had any aggression shown. Most of the time they'll stand or they'll follow you through the woods, or they'll walk out on you from the edge of the woods. If you're on a path or in the woods, they'll just walk out on you and stare at you. They never take their eyes off you. They've never made any overt move toward anybody. They've encountered a number of people that had handguns and rifles. And even those people that had protection all had that same feeling that, if I pull this trigger, things are going to go real bad real quick. They will follow you till you're out of sight. We had a gentleman hunting game birds down near a swampy area in a park, and he encountered one, same thing, just kind of stood there staring at him. He actually was really close to it when he actually looked up and saw it staring down at him. And he had the thought of, he had a shotgun. He said, it crossed my mind to just take a shot and run. He said, and then I quickly thought about it and said, like, this ain't going to work real well. So he backed out all the way to his truck, and this thing never took its eyes off him. Even when he was driving away, it just kept watching him. So what their purpose is or what they are is kind of weird, because if you go back into the indigenous tribes in Pennsylvania, they were watchers or skinwalkers or protectors of battle sites and grave areas of the indigenous. So what they are, I have no idea, but I do know that they've been around a long time. And Pennsylvania at one time was all indigenous. We didn't have any white people living here till like, what was it, 1755, 54, something like that. First settlers.
Right. Okay.
So what we're dealing with, I have no idea.
Is it Tulpa?
Don't know. I really don't know. And I've talked to indigenous about it here and out in Oklahoma, trying to get the skinwalker end of it, but they pretty much said that they thought it was probably a watcher, and a watcher is just a protector of Indian battle sites where Indian against Indian and burial grounds and stuff like that. But they warned me right up front. They said, if you do get to a burial ground and you see something, don't touch it, don't pick it up, don't do anything, just walk away.
Butch, we got 3 minutes left before we got to say goodnight. Quick question here from S Truth Gaming. Butch, are there any reports coming from the South Mountain here in Cumberland County? I don't even know where that is. Where is that?
Yeah. It's close to Harrisburg.
I don't even know where that is, man.
Also, we have that's our state capital. We also, you can tell them, we also have reports in the Blue Mountain area.
Well, you can tell them because, And
Appalachian Trail.
Very cool. Very cool. 2 minutes to go here, buddy. Got to ask you. Okay, I'll get to this question from Greco first. Why do people assume it's aggressive? What exactly was the aggressive part?
They normally don't approach anybody. When she started screaming, it started stepping toward the group and growling. That was the aggression. We've never had that happen before. They just stand there. They don't do anything. They just watch you. In that particular case, when she started screaming and losing it, it started walking toward them and growling.
Yeah, you get an 8-foot creature growling at you, you pretty much know that that's aggressive. Butch, we got about 90 seconds here left with you tonight, my friend. It's always interesting, and it flies by way too quickly, as you and I always gripe about after the show. But just for the record, where can people find more information about you, UFO Cop, and where can they send a report?
They can send a report to, if they go to the UFO Cop site, UFORCOP.com or Facebook. They can get my contact information there. They can send me a report on the website. If they go to terrestrial contact, just go down. There's a little place you can fill in your name, number, or however you want me to contact you, email, or if you just want to send a report. And I'll take it from there. That gets checked. We have one computer here that's all that the computer does is pick up that stuff. So I don't miss anything. And whether it's research, they need some information on background research or sighting or anything like that, they can contact me. No problem there at all.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure. And where are you?
Sir.
Where are you traveling to next?
It's probably going to be French Creek State Park.
Well, make sure you keep your head on a swivel.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, always aim for the slowest guy's leg. Okay? Always aim for the slowest guy's leg. Yes.
Yes, I got that. Yep.
Yeah.
Got that down pat.
Because we don't want anything happening to you. That's for sure. My friend,
Okay.
it's always a pleasure. Thank you once again for doing this, and we will talk to you at the end of next month as well.
You got it.
Looking forward to it. Butch Witkowski, everybody. Strange Days happens near the end of each month where we bring in Mr. Butch. He breaks down everything weird, strange that he is following from the reports he gets from all around the world, and we love him. UFOcop.com, once again, is his website. Coming up next, we have the SOR News Wire and the Thought of the Dave. Stay tuned. More Spaced Out Radio coming up. Good job, Butch.
Thank you, sir.
Give you a few claps here.
So,
go.
okay, so we finished up at 192.
190, what did we top out at? No, we beat that. I think we topped out at like 194. Now I got to go back and check. I think it was 194. I can't believe I already forgot. But we also set a new record for likes tonight. Okay, at 108. We beat the old record by 4.
Okay.
All right, 194. Yeah, 194. So you broke your record by 8.
Cool.
Yeah, 194 and 108. I got to get a sticky note. I'm going to write this shit down because I know I'm going to forget this. All right. 194, 108. There we go. I've now set the record portion here. Take those down. Those can go in the garbage. Put this new one up. Oh, yeah. 194, 108.
Okay, and we will talk again September 28th.
Oh, God. Now we're at 100. I just wrote it down, people. And now you just ruined my whole sticky note here. We're at 111 likes now. Ruined my whole sticky note. All right, Butch. Love you, man. You take care, okay?
Buddy. You too.
All right, bro. Take care.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Butch Witkowski. Butch Witkowski. Oh, my ears. My ears are so sweaty. Oh, excuse me. Ah. My hair's growing pretty fast, eh? I gotta get the sides done again here pretty quick. But we're growing fast again. Oh, there's 113. 114. Appreciate everybody doing that. 115. Look at Teresa. She's just on a roll, keeping count. She is our official counter. Our official counter. Dave's ears are moist. Yeah, they are. There they are. It's muggy in here. Got the window open. Hey, John Hudson. What's going on? How's the chapeau? I got a large head. I'm looking at myself right now. I got a big melon. A big, big melon. $116. Look at you go, Teresa. Yeah, I'll bring that to Butch's attention, Greco. Not a problem. Excuse me. 118. My head is massive. Massive. But my hair smells divine right now. Just divine. A large head and a fat face, that is. Yeah, I know. I know. The beard looks like my head is like, my face is massive. I'll be getting into shape here the next couple of weeks once firewood season starts. Then we'll trim right down. I usually lose about 20 pounds during the wood collecting season. Sure. Plenty of it there. You know? If you can find any area to grow, I mean, the hair is pretty much a jungle. All right, let's do this whole news thing, shall we? I use a nice conditioner. You have to use a nice conditioner. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for tuning us in. Reminder that if you have missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter on Spaced Out Radio or at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news. Oh yeah, here we go. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the unbelievable. As if 2020 couldn't get any weirder, airline pilots landing in Los Angeles International Airport this past weekend reported seeing a guy in a jetpack flying about 300 yards off their wing while on final approach to the bustling airport. What makes the reports even stranger is that, like the scene out of The Rocketeer, the airliners were descending through 3,000 feet when jetpack guy showed up next to them. Yes, apparently there's audio clips of this. American Flight 1997, Tower, American 1997. We just passed a guy in a jetpack. Tower, American 1997. Okay, thank you. Were they off to your left or right side? American Flight, off to the left side, maybe 300 yards or so, about our altitude. Yeah, apparently another pilot confirmed the sighting from SkyWest Flight. We just saw a guy passing by us in a jetpack. Then the tower alerted an incoming JetBlue flight to report it hazard. Yeah, Tower JetBlue 23 used caution. A person in a jetpack reported 300 yards south of the LA final at about 3,000 feet, 10-mile final. JetBlue 23, we heard and we are definitely looking. Another pilot chimed in. Only in LA. The airspace around LAX is some of the busiest and most complex in the United States. Having some dude barreling through the skies in some sort of jetpack around the approaching path to the airport, especially at the same altitude as the aircraft that are making their way into the landing corridor, just isn't right. It's very dangerous. But I mean, man, is that ballsy? Is that ever ballsy? Okay. Let's move north of the border here for a second, because Kentucky Fried Chicken is getting ready for an impending chicken war here in Canada. Yes, KFC has put out an open letter after months of speculation that Popeye's famous chicken sandwich that took America by storm is set to fly into Canada sometime this year. The title of the open letter claims, "You can't have a famous chicken sandwich without famous chicken. Let's set the record straight. Our fried chicken has put the original in original recipe for 75 years, claims KFC. Yes. Whatever KFC is launching will become clearer on September 7th. Until then, all we can tell you is that you can't have a famous chicken sandwich without famous chicken, Sam Redmond of KFC Canada said. Yeah, when asked about why KFC put out an ad if Popeyes isn't a consumer threat. Back in February, Duncan Fulton, the Chief Corporate Officer at Restaurant Brands International, the parent company that owns Popeyes, recently confirmed that they plan to bring the sandwich to the Great White North later in 2020. It's a hotly asked question, he says. The plan is later this year, but we have not announced when. Popeyes confirmed that it is still hoping to launch the sandwich this fall. Oh my gosh. You know what? I don't have a KFC in my town. I don't have a Popeyes, no McDonald's, no Wendy's, no Taco Bell. And this has me frothing right at the mouth. This is a good old cockfight here, people. Popeyes versus KFC north of the border. You know the gloves are off. You know it's at center ice. And these chicken consumers are going to win from this. And I am a chicken consumer. I am very excited about this. I may even leave the hostile environment of which SOR headquarters is in order to test out these chicken burgers. I'm excited. Very excited. All right, speaking of flying, Amazon just got one step closer to sending flying robots to your front door with that much-needed package of diapers. The FAA has officially designated the e-commerce colossus an air carrier, paving the way for Amazon to start testing its plans to drop off packages within 30 minutes. The FAA's approval marks a huge milestone for Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. Yes, the 200 billionaire. 200 billion he's worth. Yeah, the grand plans to dominate online shopping by dramatically reducing delivery times. Last year, the shopping behemoth announced that it would start testing a shift from 2-day shipping to 1-day shipping for Prime customers. The drones, Amazon says, could allow it to reduce shipping times to mere minutes once a customer hits the buy button. The certification is an important step forward for Prime Air and indicates the FAA's confidence in Amazon's operating and safety procedures for an autonomous drone delivery service that will one day deliver packages to our customers around the world. Prime Air Vice President David Carbon has stated the company will work closely with the FAA and other regulators around the world to realize our vision of 30-minute delivery service. Amazon said it plans to use its newly acquired air carrier certificate to start testing customer deliveries with drones. The company's drones deliveries, which are still in the developmental stage, are expected to be limited to 5 packages under 5 pounds. The Seattle-based company made its first successful drone delivery December 7th, 2016, when it dropped off a Fire TV stick and a bag of popcorn to a home in Cambridge, England. The trip took 13 minutes. But regular commercial service has failed to take off due to the enormous regulatory hurdles Amazon faces, many of which have yet to be cleared, according to some reports. For Amazon to effectively rely on drones for regular deliveries, it must be able to pre-program the drone's routes and let them fly without human pilots watching their every move. But U.S. regulations don't currently allow for completely autonomous flights. The FAA would also have to develop a new air traffic system to track low-altitude drone flights, as well as come up with rules to minimize the risk of drones striking other aircraft and disturbing human activity below. None of that has since stopped Silicon Valley from betting on drones as a way to speed up commerce, though. Indeed, Amazon is the third company to win FAA approval to carry packages on drones that fly beyond the operator's line of sight. The agency has also awarded certificates to UPS's Flight Forward service and Wing, a subsidiary of Google parent Alphabet that started testing drone deliveries in Virginia. Elon Musk has unveiled a pig named Gertrude with a coin-sized computer chip in her brain to demonstrate his ambitious plans to create a working brain-to-machine interface. It's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires, the billionaire entrepreneur has said. His startup Neuralink applied to launch human trials last year. The interface could allow with people with neurological conditions to control phones or computers with their minds. Mr. Musk argues such a chip could eventually be used to help cure conditions such as dementia, Parkinson's, and spinal cord injuries. But the long-term ambition is to usher in an age of what Mr. Musk calls superhuman cognition, in part to combat artificial intelligence so powerful, he says, it could destroy the human race. Gertrude was one of 3 pigs in pens that took part in Friday's webcast demo. She took a while to get going, but when she ate and sniffed straw, the activity showed up on a graph tracking her neural activity. She then mostly ignored all the attention around her. The processor in her brain sends wireless signals indicating neural activity in her snout when looking for food. Elon Musk said the original Neuralink device, revealed just over a year ago, had been simplified and made smaller. It actually fits quite nicely into your skull. It could be under your hair and you wouldn't even know. Founded in 2017, Neuralink has worked hard to recruit scientists, something Elon is still advertising on Twitter for the last month, which he said was the purpose of Friday's demo. The device the company is developing consists of a tiny probe containing more than 3,000 electrodes attached to flexible threads thinner than a human hair, which can monitor the activity of 1,000 brain neurons. Ahead of his webcast, Ari Benjamin at the University of Pennsylvania's Corning Lab has said the real stumbling block for the technology could be the sheer complexity of the human brain. Once they have the recordings, Neuralink will be able to decode them and will someday hit the barrier that is our lack of basic understanding of how the brain works, no matter how many neurons they record from. I still don't like this. I don't. It scares me, people. It scares me. Gonna tell you. It absolutely scares me. This is getting a little too close to Terminator. Way too close to the Terminator. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong that all of a sudden people are going to be looking for Sarah and John Connor. We already saw how this turns out in Terminator 2. We just don't learn. We just don't learn. Cool story here. But a dude named Peter Rourke. No, he's not going to Fantasy Island. But what he is doing is he is traveling in his aircraft, loading up dozens of animals. Why? Why? Let's tell you. The 67-year-old former doctor now dedicates his life to rescuing dogs and cats that would otherwise be killed in shelters that don't have room for them. Through his nonprofit organization, Dog is My Co-Pilot, Mr. Rourke transports adoptable animals from areas with high euthanasia rates, delivering them to shelters and rescue organizations in the Rocky Mountains and Southwest and Pacific regions of the country. Over the span of 8 years, he has saved nearly 16,000 animals. Becoming a pilot for pets was not a career path the retired orthopedic surgeon had in mind. I left medicine in 2012 after the sudden death of my wife, he says. After months of sitting in a dark room, a friend called me to say I needed to get my life back. Rourke knew his friend was right. I always wanted to do something that involved aviation, adding that he got his pilot's license when he was 16 years old and still wears the pilot watch his mother gave him for his 13th birthday. But when Rourke, who lives with 3 rescue dogs himself, learned that on average thousands of healthy animals are euthanized in U.S. shelters every day, he decided to combine his interest in planes and pets and protecting lives. I had no idea there were places that kill over 90% of stray animals, Rourke said. Approximately 1.5 million shelter animals are euthanized in the U.S. annually, according to the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. That number was even greater in 2011 when 2.6 million dogs and cats were euthanized in shelters. You can only be a part of the solution or part of the problem, Rourke says. I have always wanted to be a part of the solution. So Rourke partnered up with Judy Zement, a friend and attorney with experience starting nonprofits. They were approved as a nonprofit in 2012. Then it started off small. Rourke's father, who is also a pilot, gave him an old 4-seater airplane, and Rourke started flying at a handful of at-risk dogs from shelters that euthanize to ones that don't. He goes, I did it a couple of times, but I found myself flying 4 to 5 hours for one animal. I thought that was incredibly inefficient way to save lives. A few months later, they started it, And he goes, his partner says, I met Peter and told him how we desperately needed to get animals out as soon as possible. If we stopped moving them, they'd die. It's life or death. About 6 out of 100 dogs would make it out alive, and Merce says Rourke, citing the enormous overpopulation of animals in the region. It was like that all over the place. I'd offered to fly the animals for her. Rourke flew animals exclusively for New Beginnings for about a year until various groups that received the animals started sharing his contact info, and he started going absolutely everywhere. And now, full-time job, bigger planes, more dogs and cats, surviving, all because of one simple idea. I love it. Love it. A Kentucky woman who threw a message in a bottle containing her husband's ashes into the ocean during a Florida trip said the bottle has been found 2 years later in Spain. Mary Witt of Somerset said she took a trip to Daytona Beach with her family 2 months after her husband Jerry passed away suddenly. Witt decided to put Jerry's ashes into a bottle with a photo and a note and threw it into the Atlantic Ocean. I thought this would be a good way he could travel, she says. Witt said she received an email recently from the Alvarez family in Carballo, Spain. The family said they had been visiting Razo Beach on the northwest coast of the country August 13th when they found the bottle containing Jerry's ashes. Witt said she asked the family to scatter Jerry's ashes into the Atlantic, and they sent her a video doing exactly what her wishes were. It touched all of our hearts, Witt says. It's just so heartwarming and touching that they are this good to us. How awesome is that? Very, very cool. Oh, Shirk. Another stupid Guinness World Record, everyone. An Idaho man was looking to get his name in the record books, and he did with a successful new challenge, setting a new record for the fastest time to move a cream-filled cookie from the forehead to your mouth. You can't make this garbage up. David Rush, who has broken more than 150 Guinness records to promote STEM education, he used the muscles on his face to move the cookie to his forehead, then the mouth, then ate it. Rush was declared the winner of the weekly challenge when he managed to move the cookie from forehead to mouth in 8.8 seconds. He gets another plaque for this, and we get another groan, sigh, and eye roll. Thanks, Shirk. Just for that, I'm throwing this one in. Finally, police in Florida caught wind of a woman who was fed up with her father's flatulence. 40-year-old Nicole obviously did not like living with her 59-year-old father in Largo near Tampa when she was arrested for allegedly beating the crap out of him because he kept on breaking wind and wouldn't stop. Police alleged that Nicole punched her father in the face numerous times after officers found him in a bloodied left eye and scratches all over his neck as a result. That's some deadly gas right there. Yeah, Nicole has been charged and released with bail, pleaded not guilty to the misdemeanor charge of domestic battery. She has been ordered to keep away from her dad. This isn't her first brush with the law. Oh, of course not. It can't be, Florida woman. She was arrested in 2018 for allegedly hitting her sister, though she wasn't charged. Yeah, but you fart around her? Oh, she's going to flip her lid. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. What would you do if you came across a clan of dogmen while walking through the forest? Marty, one of our favorite veterans who listens to this show. We love you, Marty. Nice clown, by the way. Probably the cutest one yet. Have milkbone treats, will travel. John, that's simple. You whip out your trusty, easy-to-carry tennis ball Gatling gun, then start filming. Graham, reverse my direction, Dave. They might be hungry. Haunted history. Hopefully stick around undetected to get some footage so we have something to talk about the next time we're on the air with you, Dave. Jules, hide would be my instinct, and then watch them to decide if they're going to be friendly or not. Cherry, if the vibe was in any way friendly and I asked them if they want to get stoned. Oh, you bad thing. Bad thing. Joseph, I'd stand there and ask, frig. Then turn and run, knowing I am not going to make it if they chase me. Ryan, I'd tell them to shave. Jeff, hope like hell it's just one of those crazy nightmares and yell at myself to wake the hell up and end the misery of the bad dream. If that doesn't work and it's real, pray. I'm not even religious, and I rarely pray. David, avoid prolonged eye contact. Andrew, throw a stick. Hope they go and fetch and run while they aren't looking. Let's see here. The Raz. I'd call it a clan of Sasquatch. Oh, yeah. I'm not sure if that works. All right. Let's move this way. Ron, the Ukrainian watermelon. Let's sniff some butts and hope for the best. Alex, die. Hopefully they rip my shirt off first so my body is found shirtless. Corey, my boxer dog Ellie would scare them away. I don't think so, Corey. I think you're lost there. James, just throw a stick and yell fetch. Andrew, I'd rather run into a Bigfoot, hopefully a fast death. DA, I'm going to guess by the entree of that night's menu. Davey, I would say walkies in my best Barbara Woodhouse voice. Nate, always have a few tennis balls handy. If not, you better have a big gun and a bunch of ammo. Andrea, tackle one. I've been looking for a new puppy. Tom Dongo, former guest. I'd scream like a girl and run, Dave. Joe, a clan of dogmen. I'd put on my kilt, pull out my bagpipes, and join them. If we were a pack of dogmen, well, that's a completely different situation. Ron, show them some cool magic like how you can make fireballs with bug spray and a lighter, then calmly walk away. Melinda, well, since dogs are man's best friend, I would make some new best friends, but because they're half human, I'd be cautious. Humans can be jerks sometimes. I wonder if they like their bellies scratched. And finally, little Marky Spender, this is my buddy, Bazooka Joe, who I go looking for Bigfoot with. He goes, somebody is going to have a sore leg again. Now that's a threat to me. Total threat. Because if we ever came in contact with Bigfoot, or a dogman, or a grizzly bear, or a cougar, or a black bear, a moose, probably even a rabbit, Mark says to get away because he can't run that fast. He's going to shoot me in the leg. So that way I get attacked. Give Mark a big thumbs down for me if you don't mind. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Day. We'll do it all again on Facebook and Twitter tomorrow. Thank you to Captain Shirk for a wonderful SOR Newswire. And, of course, to Butch Witkowski and Strange Days. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everybody participating in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, Spreaker, LGAB, Rev Radio, Facebook, Space Travelers Club, and our website, and all the snarkers and snarkettes on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
make a mistake, we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. The Woo Train has docked for the night. But tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we have room for them too. Good night. That's a good show, people. That's a very solid piece of radio tonight. Very solid piece of radio. Good job. We did well. Oh, and I got big hair. Got fucking Karen hair tonight. Total Karen hair. Feel like I should be asking for a manager right about now. Let's go here. All right, I'll be right back, everyone. Hey, Jason Tussler, how are you? All right, let's do this editing thing. How we all doing? Oh. It's in the first line, Corns, the booking guy. All right, where am I? All right, so let's make this Dropbox. All right, let's move all this shit over again. Move this one over. And let's go. Where's me garbage can? All right, let's find the other file here. All right, I see what's going on here. That can go in there. That goes here. That goes there. Oh, where'd that other one go? That goes there. That goes there. That goes there. That's junk right there. That's junk. Move that one there. All right. Yeah, we set a good record tonight. Good record. No peanut butter rolls tonight. He's not a Butch fan. Corey, I love you, man. Fucking love you. Cord's the booking guy for the record is awesome. Hey, no problem, Roy. No problem whatsoever, man. You know I love you, buddy. Really? Did I cut that off? Frig. I don't think I did, but I think I may have. Hate it when this happens. Damn it. They're free for you at YouTube. Here we go with the third.
And to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Space. Son of a gun. I hooked Roy up with an affiliate, KPNL, which we're going to be, it's a digital broadcasting network that we're going to be letting them play Spaced Out Radio here very soon. So that is owned by a young lady out of Portland named Anne Celine, who many of you have seen in our chat room. So she asked if she could carry SOR, and I said yes. And I said, by the way, you might want to take a look at a few other shows that I know are really good, like Roy's, and so that's what happened there. So obviously she liked what she heard, because Roy's an absolute great broadcaster and just a great dude overall. And I love helping people who are great people. And so, yeah, that's what we did. We got him an affiliate. By the way, Roy, you were fantastic on the round table. I still think that was one of the best roundtable panels we've had in a long time. All right, editing done. Hey, Davey Altman. Sweet Davey Altman, what is going on? You tell me. I'm still waiting for you to get back to me on a couple of requests. Call me tomorrow. The big one being Bridget. Ah, darn it. All right, we'll put that one there. Put these ones here. Get rid of that. Remove that. Put this one in here. Convert. For potential guests on the show. You know, Bridget, the girl next door, has her own podcast, does some paranormal stuff. Well, you should have an idea of what we're talking about. You weirdo. No, talking to little Davey Altman. All right, time to get your verification codes ready, people. (921-572) 921-572. Use it wisely. So here it comes. No, you can't, Rono. All right. Go here. Hey, third phase. Thank you so much for the compliment. Really appreciate that. I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the studio over the next little bit here. I've been hired to voice over a documentary. I can't say what it's about or anything, but I have to do a bunch of English translation on the documentary. So I'm going to be script voicing over here for the next week to 2 weeks. Oh, is it going to be long? But it's going to be awesome. We're wearing matching t-shirts, Anne? Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? That's one down, one to go. My ass is killing me tonight. Killing me tonight. Tomorrow night on the show, we are going to have Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You. So it'll be a lot of fun with Geraldine tomorrow night. And we're going to get things going. Corinth, I'll give you a call tomorrow as well regarding, regarding the scheduling. And much love to all of you, and thank you so much for breaking a record. And I'll see you all tomorrow. So I'm waving off. Good night. Thank you for tuning on in. See you later. I never know how to sign off, but yeah, thank